So today's video is all about anger. I decided to do this today because I recently did an Instagram reel which had about 700 comments on it and different takes on anger. And so this seems to be a subject that a lot of people are interested in. And so today I'm going to give you 6 tips on how you can understand your anger on a deeper level and what you can do to get in touch with your anger if this is something that you suppress or if it is something that you have an unhealthy relationship with. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Tess and I'm with Uncharted Depths, and I help my clients break through the limitations that keep them stuck and small so they can step into their empowerment and freedom. So we are going to dive right in today. Number 1, you do not want to suppress your anger. If we suppress our anger, we are actually having that anger become trapped in our body. And we probably learned this coping mechanism at a very young age. Sometimes we are taught in childhood that our feelings and our emotions are not okay, and especially anger. A lot of people have negative feelings around anger, like anger is bad, but anger is not bad, and we need to be able to feel our anger to have a healthy relationship with it. Anger is not the problem. The problem is suppressing anger. When we suppress our anger, it eventually has to release. Think about a pop bottle. If you shake a pop bottle, and so let's say when you get triggered, it's like shaking that pop bottle and you suppress that. Well, each time you get triggered, you are creating more and more and more pressure within. That anger is just under the surface. And so eventually it's going to explode, right? The pop bottle is going to explode. So how we can diffuse this and have a healthy relationship with our anger is by actually feeling our anger when it comes up. So again, anger is not the problem. Suppressed anger is the problem. Anger also shows us our boundaries. Anger allows us to navigate and see what is happening in our experience. It gives us an interpretation of what is happening around us and what our boundaries are. So it's really important to pay attention to our anger and see why our anger is coming up in the first place. It doesn't mean that our anger may always be logical, especially if we have repressed trauma or we have unhealed trauma. So sometimes it can be like the littlest thing and then you can get really angry. It's because you're not really actually angry at the situation at hand that is happening. It's triggering this anger that is old anger that's been there for a really long time. So it's really important that we understand our anger, and I'm going to get into that more later in this video. It's important that we set boundaries for ourselves. Boundaries are really important, and anger will show us those boundaries, right? But if we are suppressing our anger, then we may be allowing people to step over and cross our boundaries. And then we are actually disrespecting ourselves, and we are not being true or authentic to ourselves. So we want to get real with our anger and get real with our boundaries and be able to express that in a healthy way, so we can respect ourselves and honor ourselves and our boundaries. This is really, really important to have healthy relationships. So number 2, anger is movement. Think about a protest or a revolution, right? The people have to get angry to show up to the protest. The people have to get angry to show up for a revolution, to create a revolution, right? So anger creates change. Anger creates momentum. So anger is actually a really positive thing if it's used in a constructive way and it is expressed in a healthy way. Number 3, under your anger is usually sadness and pain. Anger is usually a secondary emotion, right? So sadness and the pain underneath of anger is the root, and you want to get to the root issue of anger. So when you pay attention to your anger, you want to sit with it and be with it and see what is underneath. Is there sadness there? Is there pain there? How old is this pain? How old is this sadness? How long has it been there? How familiar is this to you? Where is this coming from? You want to get curious about your anger. It's so important to build a relationship with our anger so we can see what the root core of this is. Because if we just suppress our anger, or we just, keep allowing our anger to rule us and drive us where it becomes explosive, well, neither of these are healthy. So the best way to start to build a relationship with your anger and have a healthy relationship with your anger is to get curious about your anger and find the root of that pain. There is a reason that you are angry. And if you are angry within, it is usually valid and it's usually old, right? It usually comes from childhood or when we were younger, especially if we have unhealed trauma. And so if we're having this explosive anger, we usually have unhealed trauma that we have not dealt with. And also, if we are suppressing our anger, I guarantee that you have unhealed trauma that you have not dealt with. Because if you started suppressing your anger and your emotions as a child, you will have a lot of those emotions and experiences that you have not actually dealt with that still need to be handled and still need to be healed. Number 4, do not take your anger out on others. By me saying, build a relationship with your anger, have a relationship with your anger, understand your anger, express your anger in a healthy way, feel your anger. That does not mean go and yell at people or take your anger out on others. I am not condoning violence or taking your anger out on anybody or yourself. You do not want to hurt yourself or anyone else with your anger, and I'm not condoning that whatsoever. If more people had a healthy relationship with their anger and got curious about their anger and wanted to look to see what was underneath, then there would be a lot less reaction in the world. Getting curious about our anger is a way of diffusing that reaction in the future. When we come up against challenges that may have been really difficult in the past, and we can learn how to deal with them in a healthy way by still understanding and connecting with our anger, but expressing that in a calm manner and in a healthy way where the message actually gets put across. Because when we are explosive, the person on the other side doesn't even actually hear what you're saying. All they see is, red and fire and rage and anger, and it really doesn't solve anything. And then usually the person that's angry walks away in shame and then goes into this same, and it's this vicious cycle of anger, rage, shame, anger, rage, shame. So we want to get curious about that anger and what is underneath so we can change those patterns and heal. And number 5, you do not want to live in anger. So yes, we want to feel our anger. Yes, we want to build a relationship with our anger, but you want to understand that you are bigger than your emotions. Your emotions are not bigger than you. You want to feel your emotions, but you do not want to become your emotions. You don't want to walk around in anger and becoming that anger, right? It's really important that you learn to feel that, but then you want to let it go. You don't want it to become trapped in the body. So there are 2 ways in which our emotions and feelings can become trapped in the body, and that's by suppressing them. So not acknowledging them, pretending they're not there when really they are there. And so you push them down and then they actually get trapped in the body and they need to be released somehow. And so we want to feel them to release them. And so the other way in which that feelings can become trapped in the body is if we go on the other end of the scale where we almost become the emotion and we fester in the emotion. So let's say you're festering in anger and you're walking around in anger. Well, that is not productive either. And then that's just getting trapped in the body. And that can also make you sick. So on both ends, both are extreme, right? Festering in your emotions and then suppressing your emotions. You want to come into the middle where you are actually neutralizing and alchemizing and letting go of your emotions and feelings. Because emotions and feelings are temporary. They move through you. They're just a pointer of what's going on around you. And they also are the gateway to understand yourself on a deeper level. And number 6, this is something I've already said, but I'm going to repeat it again. Get curious. The best thing you can do for yourself is get curious about your anger. Get curious about what's underneath. Get curious about yourself. Curiosity in a light way can really help you with your unhealed trauma and your emotions and your anger. If you have any questions, or you want to leave some comments, or you want to have a discussion, please feel free to leave a comment in the description below, and I would love to have a conversation with you. If you like this video, be sure to hit the like button, subscribe, and share with your friends. My name is Tess. Thanks for watching.